Hare Krishna. Welcome to all to our weekly satsang program. As we were discussing from Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 3, um, all these weeks and months we were discussing from chapter 1 all the way up to 8, we completed. And today we'll be discussing from chapter 9. Very important chapters, one of the very important sections of Srimad Bhagavatam. Why it is important, we'll discuss little later. So before that, I just want to show you one verse. So this is actually from Mahabharata. It comes in Chaitanya Charitamrita, Madhya Leela. Madhya Leela, chapter 17, verse number 186. So all of you must have heard or seen some must have heard Mahabharat or seen some serial, B.R. Chopra serial or any other serial, etc. etc. You must have seen the dramas, etc. etc. And one of the important sections of the Mahabharata is Yaksha Prashna. So this happens almost about when the Pandavas are about to complete their 12th year Vanavas. So that was the time Yamaraj personally wanted to test the conduct or dedication to the principles of Dharma by his own expansion, that is Yudhishthir Maharaj. So he orchestrated the entire event of a Brahmana's Aranya wood, the two firewoods with which he could generate fire to start a yajna, was stolen by a deer, and that Brahmana approached the five Pandavas to bring back his Aranya sticks, and Pandavas chased after that deer, and they could not find it, and they felt exhausted, and they felt tired and thirsty. Then Yudhishthir Maharaj requests one of his brother Nakul, I think, to get some water from the nearby water lake. He goes there, but he was also feeling very thirsty. He drank some water. He wanted to drink some water before taking some water for his elder brother and other brothers. So there was a unembodied voice. That voice told that this lake belongs to me. You answer my questions, then you take the water. Sahadev says, no, water belongs to everyone. Water does not belong to one man's property. It is nature's property. Everyone has rights upon water. So I don't have to answer to your questions. So saying this, when he went to drink water, by the mystic power of that Yaksha, who is none other than Yamaraj himself, Sahadev fell unconscious. Nakula fell unconscious. Then Sahadeva was sent after some time. Sahadeva also the same thing happened. Then Arjuna came. With Arjuna also same thing happened. Then Bhima came. With Bhima also same thing happened. Then Yudhishthir Maharaj himself comes to that water lake. When seeing all the four brothers fell unconscious, so he could not understand what was the reason, because there was no sign of fighting with an envious person. I mean, in opposite person, their body is not at all wounded any way, and everything looks mysterious. But in order to understand, but he observes that the hands of these brothers are wet. So he thought that when they try to drink water, that's why all these things happen. Let me see what happens. So when he also about to drink water, then he hears the unembodied voice. So then Yudhishthira said that, okay, you please ask me the questions, I'll answer to your questions. So like that, Yaksha asked many questions. Among those many questions, there was one question that, what is Dharma? Then Yudhishthira Maharaj answers that. Then Yaksha asks, where can we find Dharma? So to that answer, to that question, Yudhishthira Maharaj speaks this verse. This verse is directly from Mahabharata. Herein you can see here. Mahabharata Vanaparva, 313 chapter, verse number 117. So this is almost at the end of Vanaparva. Just after this episode, they enter to the kingdom of Virata for the 1 year incognito, Ajnatavas. So where can we find Dharma? So for that, this is the answer by Yudhishthir Maharaj. Wherein he says that, Tarko Pratishta Shrutayo Vibhinna Nana Naso Rushir Yasya Matam Na Binnam धर्मस्य तत्त्वं निहितं गुहायां महाजनो येन गतस्य पंथा. So, in order to answer where can we find dharma, Yudhishthira says that dharma cannot be found in the debates. So generally people, when two knowledgeable persons come together, they want to have debate. They want to show off their skill in refuting others' argument, their skill in establishing their own arguments. They wanted to show their level of learning in Sanskrit and grammar and subject matter in Sanskrit, etc. So Yudhishthira Maharaj said that that kind of logic and debates does not establish the absolute truth. Tarko apratishta. They only try to, the two opponent parties, they try to establish their own opinions. They are not concerned about the opinion of the Vedic literature. They are not concerned about the opinion of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So their debates does not establish the absolute truth. And Shrutoyo Vibhinna. There are so many sections of Vedic literature. Vedas, Upavedas, Vedangas, Puranas, Upanishads, Aranyakas, Brahmanas, Samhitas, and Itihasas, Brahma Sutras. So many variety of scriptures are there. And even in Vedas, there are different sections: Karma Kanda section, Jnana Kanda section, Upasana Kanda section, etc. etc. So every Upanishad or every Veda, every Purana, and every Itihasa, they have something different to say. So they establish something as the goal of life. They establish something as the absolute truth. Some say Swarga is the absolute truth. Some say Brahman is the absolute truth. Some say Vaikuntha is the absolute truth. Some say this is the absolute truth. Some say that is the absolute truth. Shrutoyo Vibhinna. Every Vedic literature has different conclusion. Nasau Rushir Yasya Matam na Binnam. And all the great sages who are called as great rishis, if we approach them in order to understand what is the actual dharma, and every rishi comes up with their own philosophy. If they don't come up with their own philosophy, they cannot be called as rishi. Nasau Rishir Yasya Matam na Binnam. Whose mat is not different from others' mat, they cannot be called as rishi or muni. So every rishi has a different mata. So it is very difficult to ascertain what is real dharma by taking shelter of all these three things. That's why it is said that dharma se tattvam nihitam guhayam. The actual truth of dharma is secretly hidden in the hearts of some people. Who are they? They are called as Mahajanas. Mahajano yena garasya panta. If at all one want to understand what are the true principles of dharma, what are the principles of true religion, we need to follow in the footsteps of the great Mahajanas. Because great Mahajanas teach the principles of dharma by their conduct, by their life's activities, by their teachings, etc. etc. So we need to hear from them, we need to follow in their footsteps. Then we understand what the real principles of dharma, or what are the principles of real or true dharma. So dharma is secretly hidden in the heart of the great Mahajanas. They may not speak openly. We need to serve them, we need to follow in their footsteps, we need to observe very closely their lifestyle. Then only we'll understand the true principles of dharma. Of course, इधर महाभारत तो बोल रहे इधर महाजनास, but who are the Mahajanas? So by referring to whom, by taking shelter of whose, we can actually understand the principles of dharma. So this is mentioned in the Srimad Bhagavatam. Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 6, Chapter 3. Just after the episode of Ajamil, this is also part of that Ajamil episode. Yamaraj is speaking to his attendants, Yamabhats. So telling that who actually know the dharma, who actually have understood the principles of dharma. So about them he is telling. So he defends what exactly is dharma and who is qualified to understand dharma. Dharmantu sakshat bhagavat pranitam navai vidur rushayo napi deva nasiddha mukhya asura manushya kutonu vidyadara charanadaya. Dharmantu sakshat bhagavat pranitam. whatever was directly spoken by the Supreme Personality of Godhead, whatever was directly enacted by the Supreme Personality of Godhead whenever he appears in various avatars, that is, are they are the true principles of dharma. That is actual dharma. And this dharma cannot be understood by Navai Vidur Rushayo Napi Deva. The great rishis, the great sages cannot understand it. The devatas cannot understand it. The leaders of the siddhas cannot understand it. The asuras cannot understand it. The manushyas cannot understand this. Then what to speak of Vidyadharas, Charanas and others? They cannot understand on their own. But who can understand? How all these people can understand the true principles of dharma? There are some people who are called as Mahajanas. They have understood the principles of dharma. When we hear from them, when we follow in their footsteps, we can also understand the true principles of dharma. And who are these Mahajanas? Swayambur Narada Shambhu Kumara Kapilo Manu Prahlado Janako Bhishma Balirvaya Sakirvayam Dvadashaite Vijanimo Dharmam Bhagavatam Bhata Guhyam Vishuddham Durbodham Yam Nyatva Amrutamashnute. So herein, Yamaraj is actually speaking to his Yama Bhattas. That's why he says that, my dear Bhattas, my dear servants, my dear followers, dharma is known to 12 people. Dvadashaite Vijanimo. Oh, these 12 people have understood dharma in its proper way. Dharma in its proper form. Who are they? Swayambhuva. Swayambhuva refers to Lord Brahma. Narada, Narada Muni. Shambhu, Lord Shiva. Kumara, the Chatush Kumaras. Kapilo, Lord Kapila. Manu, Swayambhuva Manu, the first Manu. Prahlada, Prahlad Maharaj. Janako, Janaka Maharaj, the father of Mother Sita. And Bhishma, Bhishma Dev. Bali, Bali Maharaj. Vayasaki, Vayasaki refers to Sukadeva Goswami. And Vayam, Vayam refers to we. We means here Dharmaraj is speaking about himself. We means the respectably calling I. So, and along with including Yamadharmaraj, there are 11 more people. Total 12 people have understood the true principles of dharma. Dvadashete Vijanimo Dharvam Bhagavatam Dharma. Bhata. These 12 people have understood the actual Bhagavad Dharma. What are the religious principles following which one can go back home back to Godhead and attain shelter at the lotus feet of Supreme Personality of Godhead? That is Bhagavad Dharma. That Bhagavad Dharma, these 12 people have understood. So what are the qualities and the characteristics of this Bhagavad Dharma? Guhyam. It is very, very, very secret. People cannot understand. So that's why the actual Bhagavad Dharma Lord Krishna keeps in the Bhagavad Gita in the middle 6 chapters, wherein it speaks about Bhakti. And in the middle 6th chapter, the middle 2 chapters, chapter 9 and chapter 10, are called most secret knowledge. The first 6 chapters are called confidential knowledge. 7 and 8 are called more confidential knowledge. 8 and 9 and 10 are called most confidential knowledge. The descriptions of pure devotional service, the descriptions of Akinchana Bhakti or Ananya Bhakti, Lord Krishna speaks in 9 and 10 chapters of Bhagavad Gita. That he kept exactly in the middle of Bhagavad Gita. Out of 18 chapters, the middle 2 chapters are 9 and 10. Since overall chapters are even, so middle comes 2 chapters. And those 2 chapters are the most secret knowledge of entire Bhagavad Gita. So that's why it is called Guhyam. Lord Krishna says that Rajavidya Rajaguhyam Pavitram Idamuttamam Pratyakshavagamam Dharmyam Susukam Kartum Aveyam. So those are the characteristics of that knowledge which Lord Krishna going to describe in chapter 9 and chapter 10. Same way here, Dharmaraj, Yamadharmaraj is talking about Bhagavad Dharma. The characteristics are Guhyam and Vishuddham. It is very pure knowledge without any contamination of jnana, karma, etc. other things. Dhurbodham, it cannot be understood by one's own endeavor. It cannot be understood by a person whose heart is not completely pure. A person with impure heart cannot understand this. And whoever by good fortune understands this, Yam Nyatva Amrutam Ashnute, attains eternal life. Here Amrutam refers to not the Amrut of heaven, but eternal life in the spiritual world. They'll go back home back to Godhead and attain shelter at the lotus feet of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So here in Lord Brahma talked about, Dharmaraj talks about the 12 Mahajanas who have actually understood the true principles of Dharma. And Lord Brahma himself mentioned the second canto that in addition to these people, there are few more people who also have understood the true religious principles, and their names are mentioned in the second canto, chapter number 7, verse number 43 to 45. So there, Lord Brahma himself tells that who are all the other people who have understood the true religious principles. So their names are mentioned in these translations of these three verses, 43, 44, 45, wherein Lord Brahma says, "O Narada," Lord Brahma is speaking to Narada Muni's own son, "although the potencies of the Lord are unknown and immeasurable, still because we are all surrendered souls, we know how he acts through Yogamaya potencies." And we means here we refers to both Lord Brahma and Narada Muni. Both of them have understood the true nature of the Supreme Lord. And he says that, and similarly, the potencies of the Lord are also known to all powerful Lord Shiva. The great king of the atheist family, namely Prahlad Maharaj, Swayambhu Manu, his wife Satarupa, his sons and daughters like Priyavrata, Uttanapada, Akuti, Devahuti, and Prasuti, King Prachinabarhi, King Rubu, King Anga, the father of Zena and a grandfather of Prithu Maharaj, Maharaj Dhruva, Ikshvaku, Aila refers to Pururava, Muchukunda, Maharaj Janaka, Ghadi, King Gadi, the father of Gadi Sutta is Vishwamitra. Gadi is the Vishwamitra's father. Raghu comes in the dynasty of Lord Ram. The Raghu dynasty is called. Ambarish Maharaj, Sagara Maharaj, Gaya Maharaj, Nausha Maharaj, Mandata, Alarka, Shetadanve, Anu, Rantideva, Bhishma, Bali Maharaj, Amurtaraya, Dilipa, Shaubari, Utanka, Shibi, Devala, Pipalada, Saraswata, Uddhava, Parashara. Parashara is the father of Vyasadev, and that we discussed recently in our classes. Bhurisena, Vibhishana Lanka, Hanuman, Ramayan, Sukadeva Goswami, Arjuna, Mahabharat, Arishtasena, Vidura. Here Vidura is direct expansion of Yamaraj. There is no name of Yamaraj, so I highlighted Vidura, Shrutadeva, etc. So Bahulashtra Shrutadeva are the two people who are there in Mithila. Lord Krishna visited them to meet them. So like this, there are few more devotees' names are mentioned here. If we follow any of these great devotees in their footsteps, we will also understand the true principles of Dharma. So here in Lord Brahma includes 10 names. We includes Lord Brahma and Narada Muni, Lord Shiva 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So two people are not mentioned in this list. They are 4 Kumaras. So they can be considered in the part of the V, and also Lord Kapila. Lord Kapila himself is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. His name is not included by Brahma. So thus the 12 Mahajanas of the 6th canto are also there here, and also many more people with whom we are familiar with. Arjuna, Vibhishana, Hanumanji, and all these great people we hear from other pastimes of Mahabharata, Ramayana, etc. etc. So many other names are familiar. These are all great devotees. If we take shelter of them, we can actually understand the true principles of Dharma. So now, okay, having mentioned their names, out of the 12 Mahajanas, the first Mahajana is Lord Brahma himself, Swayambhu Narada Shambhu. So now here in the 3rd canto, in the 8th chapter, after performing austerities, Lord Brahma himself had the wonderful darshan of Garbhodakshaya Vishnu. Having had the darshan, now Garbhodakshaya Vishnu is offering his prayers. So, Hare Krishna. I am sorry, I did not notice that the version which we are using, the Zoom version, it is not the licensed one. It is the free version. So I have got a notice that in 10 minutes is getting it meeting will get end. So whenever the meeting gets ended, all of you please reconnect back within a minute, etc. So kindly remember that. So now, so in order to understand the true principles of Dharma, we need to follow in the footsteps of the 12 Mahajans. The first one among the 12 Mahajanas is Lord Brahma himself. And that Lord Brahma is going to offer his heartfelt prayers unto Supreme Lord. And in those prayers, he is going to talk about the principles of true religion, principles of Sanatana Dharma, principles of Bhagavad Dharma. So, Lord Brahma offers prayers at many places in the entire Bhagavatam. But out of those prayers, the prayers offered here in the 9th chapter of the 3rd canto and the prayers offered in the 14th chapter of the 10th canto, they are very important. And these prayers, if we study them very carefully, we actually get a strong foundation in the principles of Gaudiya Vaishnava philosophy. So Lord Brahma actually presents so many philosophical points in his prayers. Some points he mentions here, some points he mentions later on in the 10th chapter and the 10th canto, and he also mentioned the 6th canto, 7th canto. At many places his prayers are there, in the even the 11th canto also his prayers are there. So today and also maybe in next weeks, the future coming weeks, we will discuss his prayers. So this chapter contains 25 prayers in 25 verses. So we'll try to see the few verses today and remaining verses in the upcoming weeks. So we'll start with the first one. Brahmovacha Jnatosi medya suchiran deha bhajan Najnataye bhagavato gatiriti avadyam Nanyatvadasti bhagavan apitanna shuddham Maya guna vyatikarat yadururvibhasi. Brahmovacha. So here Lord Brahma is speaking, offering his heartfelt prayers unto Lord Garbhodakshaya Vishnu. He said that Jnatosi me adya Suchiran. Chiram means like Chiranjeevi, long time. Suchiram means having performed austerities for a long time, like 100 years, 100 human years he performed austerities. So after performing a long penance, I had the great fortune of seeing your wonderful transcendental form. By seeing your transcendental form, I have understood who you are. Jnatosi me adya. Today I have understood who you are. What is the nature of your transcendental form? I have completely understood who you are, having performed great austerity. So, Suchiram indicates that it is not so easy to understand who the Lord is. One need to perform good amount of tapasya. Then only we'll really understand who the Lord is. We'll understand what are the qualities. We'll understand the greatness of Lord's name, form, qualities, and activities with some endeavor. Without any endeavor, we will not be able to understand the nature of the Supreme Personality of God, the nature of Bhakti, etc. etc. And then he said that Nanu Deha Bhajam Na Jayate Bhagavato Gatiriti Avadyam. For persons who are embodied by the material body, for the living entities, for the jiva who it is enclosed by the material body, Na Jnataye Bhagavato Gatir. It is very difficult to understand the wanderings of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. How the Supreme Personality of Godhead performs various pastimes. What is the nature of the Supreme Personality of Godhead cannot be understood by the person who identifies oneself with the body. Gatiriti avadyam. It is very difficult for a person who is completely immersed in material identification. So then, na anyat swadasti bhagavan apitanna shuddham. Then he says that na anyat asti bhagavan. Oh Bhagavan, oh my dear Lord, there is nothing in this world can be compared to you. Because Na Shuddham. Everything that is made in this material world is nothing but the combination of three modes of material nature. Every beautiful object, every beautiful thing that every beautiful person that we see in this material world, they are simply made up of three modes of material nature: Sattva-guna, Rajoguna, Tamoguna, which transform themselves into 24 material elements. By the combination of the 24 elements only, everything that we see in this world are made up of. Their beauty may be so astonishing, though bewitching, but none of them are compared to you because they are na shuddham. They are not pure. They have the contamination of three modes. But you are not a personality made up of three modes. You are actually nirguna. You are beyond three modes. You are completely shuddha. You are completely vishuddha. Nana guna vyatikarad yed urur vibasi. Though the material things, the material mountains, the coral mountain, and the chandan tree, and so many other things which we discussed in the previous chapter, they may look very beautiful, very wonderful, very glittering. A person may want to be there only for life, entire life. But whoever understands your beauty, the nature of your beauty, then they have nothing to do with this material beauty. They are not attached to this material beauty. Your beauty is not material. It is completely transcendental. It is not a byproduct of the 24 material elements. It is not a byproduct of the three modes of material nature. It is completely shuddham, or it is completely vishuddham. It is nirguna. It is not mayaguna. That's why nothing is comparable to you. Though Bhagavatam previous chapter compares Lord's beauty with so many material things, but it is incomparable. Your beauty is incomparable to any beautiful things of this world. There is a wonderful pastimes in relation to this. In South India Yatra in Srirangam, His Holiness Radhanath Swami Maharaj has narrated one pastime in relation to Dhanurdhar and Srila Ramanujacharya. So when Ramanujacharya was personally present and preaching the glories of Vaishnavism, one day when their lordships were on procession, Ramanujacharya happened to see a person known as Dhanurdhar. He is actually a wrestler. He is a established wrestler in that area, and he was attached to a young lady because her eyes are so beautiful, and this person was so much attached to her eyes. So even when the procession of the lordships was going on, lot of sounds were made, lot of kirtan was going on, this person was standing nearby holding an umbrella, giving shade to that lady. He was simply looking into the eyes of that lady. And somehow or other, Ramanujacharya happened to see this person. And Ramanujacharya sends one of his disciples, go and get him. And that disciple goes to him and brings him to Ramanujacharya and asks him, are you not feeling shame? How are you able to look into the eyes of that lady only when Lordship himself is coming here? Then that person said that, no, my dear sir, I did not see anything more beautiful than the eyes of this beautiful lady. So I was so much enamored by the eyes of this lady, I was attached to those eyes. I don't stay without looking into those eyes. Then Ravanacharya told that, if I show you something more beautiful, if you give up looking into those eyes, and Dhanurdhar told, yes, I will do that. Then Ramanujacharya invited him next day morning to the temple for darshan. When he came to the next day morning, that time no one was there around, and Ramanujacharya took him very close to the Garbhagruha. Ramanujacharya entered into the Garbhagruha. Taking the lamp, he showed the beautiful form of Ranganatha Swami, starting from the lotus feet all the way up to the lotus face, requesting the Lordship to attract his heart. And as he was moving the lamp from the feet to the face, the transcendental beauty of Lord Ranganath is revealed to Dhanurdhar. And when Dhanurdhar had the darshan, he fell unconscious. Having got up from the unconscious state, he fell at the feet of Ramanujacharya, begging forgiveness from him. And from that day onwards, he completely surrendered to Ramanujacharya, accepting him as Guru, life and soul. And eventually, by the art of Ramanujacharya, he married that same lady, and both of them served Ramanujacharya and Lord Ranganath for their entire life with complete dedication. So, like that, there are so many places, even the